It is one of the mythical heralds of Medarot 4, representing that of the immortal Hydra. It is HDR00 Greek Head, with a kit of field repair, double charge repair, tank legs, and the leg ability of auto repair, which passively restores HP to all parts when charging metaphors or for any turn completed. Now, as a model representing that of the Hydra, it's very obvious to see that this model specializes in basically trying to stick around as long as feasibly possible without getting crippled. Between tank legs and not three, but four different kinds of passive or even active HP restoration, Greekhead is a model that, as long as he's allowed to remain on the field alive, he's going to be a rather painful thorn in your side when it comes to taking out his offensive allies. Field Repair on the head is a healing-based skill that, once activated, will restore a small amount of HP back to all active parts of the target. That can be either himself or a fellow ally that might be damaged, but not broken. And of course, the level of healing is tied relative to the healing skill on the medal. If I do recall correctly, in addition to this, it also comes tied with the terrain mastery of the leg. So the better your leg mastery is on the terrain, the better of a healing payout you'll get when using this skill. Both arms of charge repair are another form of healing that instead will restore HP relative to the amount of charge they have in their Metaforce gauge. So while it is still tied to Greekhead's own personal metal mastery of healing, a good chunk of his efficacy will also come from how much Metaforce charge he has, which, given that he's a tank type, he could probably fill up moderately quickly without getting hammered too quickly, which he can use to his advantage. And as if this wasn't bad enough, assuming that he himself isn't hammered the whole time, auto repair also comes as a really great way to keep his own HP on the relatively higher end when it comes to completing his turns every round to keep his own allies alive. Tank legs does also mean that he is going to be rather slow, but of course tanky as expected, where he will have a flat B rank across all terrains with no advantage or disadvantage, but he is packing some very nice resist stats though. With a mobility of 503, that is kind of to be expected for tank legs and kind of par for the course, unfortunately. And also, as expected, they do also have a flat evade stat of nothing, because tank legs are incapable of dodging or grazing attacks. However, given the fact that he is tank leg, this also does add to his overall tankiness, as this does mean he also has a stackable and passive 30% damage reduction, as if everything else wasn't enough to keep him relatively healthy on the field. His HP stats are actually pretty solid too, as expected of a very dependable healer type like him, with a head HP of about 3650, arms about 3700 each, and his legs at just shy of 4100. A very, very healthy HP pool means he's going to be very difficult to take down, and a very high armor pool means he's going to be able to soak up a lot of damage before he actually goes down. And that's assuming you're actually able to break something before he has a chance to heal it. In terms of his resist stats, he is packing a pretty hefty 1297 in terms of his melee resist, and a shoot resist of 1647 also is very good, and of course expected for tank legs, as this does mean that he can certainly tank a blow up close and personal or from afar moderately well without it really coming in to hammer him too badly. Now, one of the major things to really deck on when it comes to Greekhead is the fact that despite being a moderately solid healer type, despite being tank-legged of course, and being a very high HP pool kind of healer as a damage sponge, all three of his parts are also considered heavy, which means compared to other healers which may not be as efficient but also faster or more flexible, Greekhead's parts are kind of one of those ones where you really don't want to actively use him too much unless he's really all you have, or unless you're hell-bent on using Greekhead as your dedicated healer and can build the team around making sure he stays alive to do so. That being said, as a pure set score, I do sadly have to rate Greekhead a pretty flat 2 out of 10, and kind of fell flat on his many faces in many aspects here. That's not to say that what he can offer as a healer is bad or he just isn't great at it, no. Because under the right circumstances, Greekhead, as the immortal Hydra can be, well, immortal, if you take care of him and pay close attention. But the other issue with it is, charge repair in particular also requires him to have a Metaforce charge, and if he has to spend 1 or 2 turns getting Metaforce, or even being hammered to do so, depending on his metal nature, of course, that does kind of serve itself as rather counterintuitive to what he could do, as what he could offer to the team. In addition, because he is triple heavy, despite the fact he will have that passive damage reduction going in his favor, he still is incredibly weak and subject to massive heavy punish. So anyone coming in with wide break hammer, or so on, is going to absolutely trash this mythical snake type. As mixed parts, I do have to rate him just a little bit higher though, at about a 3 out of 10. Even though field repair you may probably never use, if I'm completely honest. And charge repair may or may not see some possible use depending on the situation. His legs are probably going to be the best and only part of him you really will ever use, and even then that's in some rather niche situations, unless such as they're demanding you to use tank legs. Because even though I tend to actively advocate against tank legs for a good multitude of reasons, the passive damage reduction is really nice, and the leg ability of auto repair does also further guarantee that you will be able to stay alive long enough to use a lot of your nuke skills, if that's what you're planning, or stay moderately healthy without taking too much of a beating.